Hello girls and boys, how are ye? And I hope that you're doing okay. As I sent this to ye, ye should all be in school. And isn't it fantastic to be? Long may that continue. I wanted to touch base with you this week being St Patrick's Week celebrations, and sadly we don't have St Patrick's Day parades this year, but I said wouldn't it be lovely if we did our own little parade ourselves. I'm here in St Mary's Cathedral, and if you did no more than to come into the cathedral here and take a stroll around to look at all the stained glass windows that tell us bits and pieces of St Patrick's life, and just take the chance to look and to see the beauty of the colours and to see the story that is being told, you get the whole life of St Patrick here in the stained glass windows. Because there's the lovely stained glass window here of St Patrick, and he up the mountain in slavery and he minding the sheep, but remembering that it was there on the mountain in the slavery that he heard of the whisper of God and of how he went away. But when he was away, he heard again of the call of the Irish and then was ordained a priest, and we have a picture of him as a bishop being sent back by the Pope to the people of Ireland. And when he was here in Ireland, there is the stained glass window of St Patrick, and he teaching and preaching to the King and to the people of Ireland. And he continuing on from that to baptise the King and to baptise the people and to hand on the faith. But remembering that it was about him in prayer, there is the lovely window here of St Patrick on top of Croagh Patrick, the mountain in Mayo, and he in prayer. And of he on top of another mountain, a hill, the hill of Tara, lighting the Easter fire to tell the people of the risen Christ. And then finally there is the window of St Patrick and St Bridget and St Brendan, and the three of them in heaven awaiting the ascension of the Lord. We think of all of that as we celebrate St Patrick today, as we do it here in the cathedral. But let's go for a walk outside of here, because there's one or two other little things with St Patrick that I want to remind you of. Come on away for a stroll. So girls and boys, we did our little parade around the stained glass windows in the cathedral looking at the life of St Patrick, but I want to take you outside the cathedral to show you one or two things more. I want to head down Mission Road. So I'll go for a stroll down Mission Road to take you to the next place, but while we're walking, let you take the chance to watch this video on the life and the story of St Patrick and the great guy of faith and how he has helped us to come to know Jesus in our own time. You watch that, I'll go for a stroll. Catch up with me in a while.
St. Patrick. Everyone's heard of St. Patrick, right? The mere mention of the name reminds us of shamrocks, green ale, and maybe even a leprechaun or two. But who was St. Patrick really? And why in the world do we reserve an entire day in his honor? Well, his story is one of the most compelling in Christian history, worthy of a blockbuster movie. It all began in Roman Britain way back in the 5th century. One day, as 16-year-old Patrick was minding his own business, a band of slave traders sprang from the shadows and took him captive, hauling him all the way back to Ireland, where he served as a shepherd for 6 long years. 5th century Ireland was a rough place to live. Hundreds of chieftains ruled Ireland's warring barbarian tribes. Patrick's pagan captors were strong, passionate, and quick-tempered. They thought little about their own lives and even less about the lives of their slaves. Hunger, cold, and nakedness were his constant companions in those years. But in this difficult and lonely situation, God began to move in Patrick's heart. Though his father had been a deacon and his grandfather a priest, Patrick had never been serious about his faith. But days and nights alone on the cold countryside transformed Patrick from an irreligious youth into a holy man. His trials forged in him a strong and hearty faith, something difficult to acquire back in the comforts of Roman Britain. He wrote once of that time, "I would pray constantly during the daylight hours. The love of God and the fear of Him surrounded me more and more, and faith grew and the Spirit was roused. So that in one day I would say as many as 100 prayers, and after dark, nearly as many again. One night, after 6 years of slavery, God spoke to Patrick in a dream. Your hungers are rewarded. You are going home. Look, your ship is ready. Immediately, he started for the nearest port, traveling over 200 miles on foot without being stopped. There he secured passage on a ship to Britain, another miracle for a runaway slave. After a harrowing month of travel by sea and land, Patrick made it home. He was back with his family, back in Britain, reunited with all things good and comfortable. But 6 years in pagan Ireland had changed Patrick. 6 years of harsh slavery, 6 years of experiencing God's presence, sufficiency, and faithfulness. Patrick grew restless in Britain until one night he received another message from heaven. Victoricus, a man he had known in Ireland, came to him in a vision. Holding a large stack of letters, he handed one to Patrick. It read, "The Voice of the Irish." Suddenly, a multitude of Irish voices called out to him, "We beg you to come and walk among us once more." Deeply moved, he was unable to read further and immediately woke up from the dream. Christ continued to speak to him, and St. Patrick accepted his missionary calling as the Apostle of Ireland. Patrick received his theological training and was ordained as a bishop to the peoples of Ireland, a dangerous assignment to say the least. But the love God gave Patrick for the Irish far outweighed any concerns for safety. His humility, courage, and generosity endeared him to them, even as he boldly preached Christ and challenged injustice. Patrick translated the gospel not only into their language, but into Irish culture, showing them that the virtues they most prized found their deepest expression in Jesus Christ. St. Patrick's mission work was wildly successful. He planted churches all over Ireland and influenced every level of society. Christian monasteries became centers for study and learning. Kings and peasants were baptized, and Ireland experienced a cultural transformation like few societies in history. By the year 461, the likely year of St. Patrick's death, Ireland had seen the extinction of the slave trade, violence and tribal warring drastically reduced, and virtually a whole nation converted to Christianity. As the Roman Empire was crumbling into chaos, Ireland was experiencing a renaissance of culture and learning, brought to them by the gospel of Jesus Christ and by a slave-turned-saint named Patrick.
Welcome back, girls and boys, and I hope you enjoyed that video on St. Patrick. I told you I was going for a stroll. I went from the Cathedral, have come down Mission Road, I have come to Hugh O'Flaherty, and I think of St. Patrick, who left his land so long ago to spread the faith to Ireland, and I think of Hugh O'Flaherty, who left his home country of Ireland and his hometown of Killarney to spread the message of God in Rome and in Italy, and in the midst of all of that did ferociously courageous work in saving the lives of 6,000 people during World War II. And it was all because of his faith, the faith that St. Patrick had handed on to the people of Ireland and in turn on to Hugh O'Flaherty. But having talked about the Cathedral and having talked about Hugh O'Flaherty, all of these on Mission Road, I want to go back up on our parade on Mission Road, because halfway between the Cathedral and Hugh O'Flaherty there's a monument there that I want to show you. Come on away. So, girls and boys, the parade continues. As I said, we're on Mission Road, so the Cathedral is that way, Hugh O'Flaherty is that way, and in the middle is this. You might have driven past it every day, but did you ever walk in here? Because this is the Mission Memorial Sculpture. And on it, it has the names of all the different missionaries from Killarney who have gone throughout the world to spread the message of God. And there are the names here and where they were from and their dates when they lived, but also the countries that they went to. and they went from Killarney to spread the message of Jesus to England and Scotland and Wales, to America and Australia and New Zealand, and to India, and to Africa, and to South America, and all over the world. They were, like Patrick, missionaries carrying the message and the love of Jesus. Sometime, if you're here, call in and have a look at it. I was talking to the guy who created it, to the artist, John Crowley, and he was telling me the reason for the sculpture as it is that imagining, because this is in Killarney, imagining the centre being Killarney and the circle being the circle of the world, and all the lines being like all the people who have travelled out throughout the world to spread the message. And I think we could use that sculpture for ourselves too, because think of your heart united with Jesus in the centre of the sculpture, and think of the circle around as all who are in need around us, and all the lines being all the different ways that we can be like missionaries, being like St Patrick in our own time. And I pray that as we figure out the continuing with all the funny things, that the restrictions that are on us, there are still so many possibilities. We mightn't be able to go further than 5 kilometres, and yet there is so much good that we can do in the 5 kilometres, and even within our own homes, to be like Patrick in our own time, to spread the message and the love of Jesus. So good luck with that. Let's remember St Patrick, not because of we being dressed in green and with all the things like that, but remembering that it is the message of faith and all that we have received. We give thanks for Patrick, we give thanks for those who have been missionaries from Killarney, and we give thanks for the courage of Jesus to do it in our own time. Girls and boys, mind yourselves. May St Patrick protect ye now and always, and good luck with the schooling, with everyone being back into school together. It is truly fantastic, and well done as always to those who are making it happen. Girls and boys, I'll talk to you later. Hail glorious St Patrick, dear saint of our isle, may he look after us always. Bye bye, good luck.